Alright, run-on sentences is the topic of this video. Basically, we have two types of run-on sentences, fused sentences and comma splices. Both are bad. Fused sentences are sentences which have basically two sentences put into one with nothing in between, no punctuation, not correctly punctuating them in between, not using punctuation actually. Because a comma splice is also two sentences put into one, but just putting a comma between them. And you can't just do that either. So let's go ahead and figure out how to help you out. A fused sentence. Let's start with fused. Alright, so here's an example. We have the bus stopped, we got off. Wow. This is funny because I use Facebook a little bit, and I can't tell you how many times I see somebody just throw two sentences together. They don't put anything between them. In fact, they probably don't even put a period at the end most of the time. But that's a fused sentence. There's two independent clauses. The bus stopped and we got off, but they're not joined correctly. So that's a fused sentence. Well, how can we correct that? Well, you should hopefully by now know the rules on joining clauses, but we're going to go ahead and go over these again. So if we have two independent clauses like this, I'm gonna use this abbreviation for independent clause. You can join two independent clauses with a semicolon between them. There shouldn't be all this space between, but or you can join two independent clauses with a comma coordinating conjunction. It's also known as the fanboys. Alright, so, there's one other way. This is the same way as the first way. We have independent clause, semicolon, and another independent clause, but the other independent clause is going to start with a conjunctive adverb. And that is an introductory element too. So we're going to offset that with a comma and then finish it with the independent clause. So we're still to have two independent clauses, just the second one starts with a transition known as a conjunctive adverb. So let's look at these things. So if we wanted to, we could simply put a semicolon right here, and that's this way. If we wanted to use a comma conjunction, we would just put the bus stopped, comma, blank, we got off. Let's see, I'm gonna think about this for a moment. Now the fanboys are for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. So that's for, that is the coordinating conjunctions, for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. Alright, so one of these is most logically going to fit in here before the we. So is it the bus stopped before we got off? Kind of makes sense. I don't know if I like for all that much as I would like so. These two are kind of similar. The bus stopped, so we got off. You don't want to just say and we got off or nor we got off, or just don't want to throw any random one in there. We tend to overuse and. So since so is more logical, there's a cause and effect, we're going to use so. Okay. Well, so that's that one. Then the last one, the last example is using a conjunctive adverb in the middle. The bus stopped, semicolon, because we're going to have just joining two independent clauses, but the second one has a conjunctive adverb. It's a transition. Now you need to memorize many of the conjunctive adverbs to use this this pattern correctly. One of them is similar to a cause and effect. So therefore is one of them. Therefore, it's a conjunctive adverb. So we offset it with a comma at the beginning of this clause. Okay. There's some ways to join a fused sentence. Well, you do this if you got a comma splice sentence. You really do the same thing, because then what you have is a comma splice. You're gonna just have a comma between them. The bus stopped, comma, we got off. Again, they're not joined correctly, but since it's a comma and instead of nothing in the middle, it's called a comma splice instead of a fused sentence. In any case, it's still a run-on sentence. And you join them and you correct it in the same way, really. Instead of using a comma, you can use a semicolon, or you can use a comma fanboys, like this one, or you can use a semicolon conjunctive adverb before that last independent clause, or that's part of it. But all right, so there's an independent clause here, so semicolon conjunctive adverb comma to join these two independent clauses. So it's the same kind of correction. It's just what we started with either had a comma or it didn't. Regardless, it was a run-on, which is bad. Okay, I think that's just about it. There's another way to do this. We're not quite done. There's another way to correct these. So far, what we did was we joined these two clauses with something in the middle, but we left them as independent clauses. All of these are independent. One thing you could do is create a subordinate clause for one of them. So, a subordinate clause that starts with a subordinating conjunction, right? So the bus stopped. All right, subordinating conjunctions that would work. Well, I think what I would do is I would actually start with because the bus stopped, like that lowercase t. Because the bus stopped, that's a subordinate clause, so we're putting a comma before the independent clause. All right, because the bus stopped, we got off. Or we got off the bus because it stopped. So you can rearrange things sometimes as long as what you come up with is logical, because you don't want to put because in front of the other clause. We wouldn't say the bus stopped because we got off, right? That's not logical. So we have to, arrange it in the right way. But there's another way to correct a fragment, whether it's a fused sentence or comma splice. We can join the clauses together. There's one last way, of course. And of course, this is the simple way. The bus stopped, period, new sentence, we got off. All right. Now the problem, not a huge problem all the time, but sometimes this is a problem because it doesn't show the relationship between these two as well as joining them together with the correct word and the correct punctuation. Sometimes we end up with lots of short, simple sentences, and it's kind of choppy. So sometimes it's okay to use you do want to use some simple sentences, some short, choppy sentences, but you don't want all of your sentences to be short and choppy. So you want to join some of your clauses together in a logical and correctly punctuated way, and sometimes you want to have short, choppy sentences mixed within. So your sentence structure varies from sentence to sentence. They're not all short and choppy, and they're not all long and drawn out. Not withdrawn, but long and drawn out. But you have a mixture. That adds a variation to your style of writing. So, all right. well, that's it for this video.